Let's consider energy. In the physical observation, it is the indirectly observed quantity which comes in many forms. Think of kinetic energy, potential energy, radiant energy, amongst many others. In science, when we ask about what energy is, it becomes truly hard to answer in simple terms. However, in theoretical physics, it can be rigorously defined. Richard Feynman claims that we have no knowledge of what energy is, but it is indeed vital for performing mechanical work. The concept alone has a great role in natural science. It is measured through natural basic units, which are equal to a unit of force multiplied by a unit of length. Other equal units for energy are mass units multiplied by velocity units squared. What forms of energy can we detect? Well, look around you. Heat, kinetic, chemical, mechanical, electrical, magnetic, radiant energy or electromagnetic radiation, nuclear, elastic, sound, gravitational, mass. For instance, Einstein's E equals mc squared, color energy, and even psychic energy. These are not complete forms in the list so far, and according to scientific study, one discovers that certain phenomena seem to violate the law of energy conservation. Therefore, do not be surprised when new forms are added. These days we are talking about dark energy, for instance. It is a hypothetical energy permeating all space and helping the expansion of the universe. Naturally, we cannot classify them. They are dependent upon fundamental forces of nature. They are known as potential energy and are stored in the arrangement of objects and particles under the influence of a certain force field. These include gravitational energy stored in the way masses are arranged in a gravity field, types of nuclear energy utilizing potentials from the nuclear force, and the weak force, electrical energy discovered from within the electrical field, and the magnetic energy. There are energy types which are a blend of potential and kinetic energy. Consider mechanical energy, for instance, which is the sum of potential and kinetic energy in a given system. Elastic energy is something dependent upon electrical potential energy between the atoms. Chemical energy is the same, meaning stored and released from the reservoir of electrical potential energy between electrons, the molecules, or atomic nuclei attracting them. Classic mechanics explain the difference between the potential energy, which is a function of the position of an object within a field, and kinetic energy, a function of its movement. Here in the position and the movement are relative to a frame of reference, which needs to be specified, often a fixed point on the surface of Earth. Energy may be transformed between different forms at different and varied efficiencies. Such transformations between those forms are known as transducers. The word energy originates from the Greek energia, and it seems to have appeared for the first time in Aristotle's works in the 4th century BC. In reality, it means activity or operation. Gottlieb Leibniz defined the product of the mass of a given object and its velocity squared, and believed vis viva, or living force, was preserved. Like Isaac Newton, he theorized that thermal energy consisted of the random movement of the building parts of matter. And of course, in 1807, Thomas Young used the word energy for the first time instead of the living force. The law of conservation energy was first considered in the early 19th century. Noether's theorem describes this type of energy as the consequence of that the laws of physics do not change over time. From 1918, it was known that the conservation energy is a direct mathematical consequence of the translational symmetry of the quantity conjugate to energy, meaning time. In 1845, James Prescott Joule discovered the link between mechanical activity and the generation of heat. This led to the theory of conservation of energy, thus the creation of the first law of thermodynamics. There are units of energy. The joule, which is also the international system of units, known as C or SI, derived unit of energy, work or amount of heat, is equal to the energy expended and the work done in applying a force of 1 neutron through a distance of 1 meter. Energy is expressed in many other units also: ergs, calories, British thermal units, kilowatt hours, kilocalories. 1 kilowatt an hour equals to 3.6 million joules. In astronomy, the phenomena of stars, nova, supernova, quasars, gamma-ray bursts are the universe's highest output energy transformations of matter. All stellar phenomena, or solar activity, are driven by a variety of energy transformations. The energy in these transformations in either from gravitational collapse of matter, as with molecular hydrogen, into many classes of astronomical objects, stars, black holes, and so forth, or from nuclear fusion of lighter elements, again, primarily hydrogen. All living organisms rely on an external source of energy, radiation from the sun, in the case of vegetation, chemical energy in various forms, in the case of animals, and to be able to grow and to reproduce. For instance, daily 1500 to 2000 calories, or 6.8 megajoules, are recommended for an adult human, taken as a combination of oxygen and food molecules, mostly carbohydrates, of which glucose and stearin are examples. Food molecules are oxidized to carbon dioxide and water in the mitochondria. The rest of the chemical energy in the carbohydrate or fat is converted into heat, and so we feel the warmth because we are alive. On Earth, living organisms seem to be inefficient, well, at least physically, in their use of the energy and receive chemical radiation. Machines, however, manage higher energies. In living organisms, the energy is converted to heat and serves of course, a vital purpose, as we all know. However, the second law of thermodynamics declares that energy in the matter tends to be more evenly spread through the universe. Simpler organisms are discovered to achieve higher energy efficiencies than more complex ones. The complex ones can occupy, shall we say, ecological niches which are not available in simpler forms. The concept of energy and its transformations is vital in predicting the natural phenomena. One form can often readily be transformed into another, a battery from chemical energy to electrical energy, for instance, a dam from gravitational potential energy to kinetic energy of moving water, and ultimately electric energy through an electric generator. Although there are limitations, some can be pretty efficient. Energy transformations in the universe over time are characterized by a variety of potential energy since the Big Bang. They are transformed to more active types of energy, like kinetic and radiant energy. For instance, nuclear energy decay, where an energy is released, which was stored in heavy isotopes like uranium or thorium by nucleosynthesis, using the gravitational potential energy released from the gravitational collapse of the supernova to store energy in the making of heavy elements before being incorporated into the solar system and our planet Earth. Through the years, we have discovered several explanations. Matter may be destroyed and converted into energy, and vice versa. But mass cannot ever be destroyed. Rather, mass remains constant for both the matter and energy during the processes when they are converted into each other. Examples of energy transformation into matter, like kinetic energy into particles with mass, are discovered in high energy nuclear physics. However, my aim in talking to you about energy is basically the energy in personality. Firstly, this psychic energy is needed to make the mind energy, and the energy of motivation cannot be destroyed. It can only be expressed. This energy is used in psychological work like thinking, planning, remembering, and feeling. It originates from two main drives: ERDS, E-R-D-S, libido, the life as well as the sexual instincts, and Thanatos, Thanatos, or death instinct. There is only a finite amount of energy available, and when overly used, it can repress memories and can deal with anxieties. If the neurosis can be resolved, the psychic energy can be freed to use more creatively and productively. Psychic determination, meaning everything which happens in one's mind and everything a person does can be identified. All seeming contradictions of mind and behavior can be resolved. Remember, nothing is accidental. Forgetting someone's name or saying or doing something else. Psychoanalysis can dig into these hidden causes and bring them into conscious awareness. And through this insight, the cause can be resolved. Humans, as we all know, have unconscious urges. In Freudian psychology, the unconscious is important in determining behavior. Desires, motivations, and conflicts usually are seething below the surface, below the level of instinctual or instinctive urges, lust and aggression, for instance. These urges are often in conflict with the demands of society. For instance, humans want pleasure, but society places limits on the kinds of pleasure. The world wants to celebrate Christmas, and Jehovah's Witnesses oppose it. Freud emphasizes the extent to which people are motivated by psychosexual pleasure. Unconscious, preconscious, and conscious. The unconscious is a large part of the mind and hidden from view. The preconscious is the zone or the area in which there are fleeting glimpses of the unconscious flickering across the screen of consciousness. Finally, the littlest part is the conscious awareness humans experience. Freud believed that if there was some memory too painful for the conscious part to bear, the defense mechanisms would push it down into the unconscious part of the mind. Id, ego, superego, or the structure of the mind. All three parts have separate motivations. Id, the rational and emotional part of the mind. Ego, the rational part. And superego, the moral part. Personality characteristics are determined by the way in which a person learns to resolve unconscious conflicts among the id, and ego. Personality is strongly affected by childhood experiences. For instance, if a child is growing under much restrictions by very religious parents. Freud was the first to emphasize the importance of early childhood experiences. The quality of a person's mental health was seen as determined by the extent to which psychic conflicts had been effectively resolved. Personality is a dynamic set of processes and always in motion. As with psychodynamism, because of this dynamism, it is possible for an adult's characteristic to be altered dramatically through therapeutic or psychodynamic insight. Remember, we use defense mechanisms to shield our psyche from pain, because we humans desire for pleasure which may have destructive instincts. Life may seem to appear too painful to endure consciously, and so much of the pain can be diverted through the defense mechanism or mechanics and can be kept in the unconscious. However, these hidden factors can be detected as the root behavior or the conscious experience or the psychic determination. The unconscious filters into conscious awareness through dreams, slips of the tongue, psychosomatic symptoms, for instance. The unconscious is dynamic, and the psychic energy has to go somewhere. In other words, although there may be unconscious conflicts hidden from the conscious awareness, they significantly influence behavior, and that we call psychosomatics. Therapeutic relief can be achieved through insight into the unconscious. If we help the person to bring underlying conflicts, which are usually related to past negative learning experiences, to the surface, then true understanding can be achieved. The therapeutic emphasis on the role and value of achieving self-insight or self-awareness is a notion explored by human psychology. It was noticed that talking about it helps. Psychotherapy may use project assessment techniques, but that's a different subject.